Hey guys, what's up? Today I'm going to show you the apps that actually run my restaurant. I am very fortunate. I don't always have to be at my restaurant, but I had to leverage systems and processes to make this work. But at the backbone of it all, there is technology. When I first started in restaurants, basically when I was a kid, my parents with their Chinese restaurant, there was really no technology. We had those cash registers that you punch in just like the price of the item and then you kind of categorize it as like food or alcohol. And then you get these like little receipts. If I had to use one today, I couldn't tell you how to use it, but everything was super old school. I remember a time when credit cards were processed with the imprint thing. You like put the credit card down and you like imprint it and then you get like a carbon copy. And yeah, so man, it's come a long way. I guess that's the perk of being a 90s kid. So over time, things have changed. And then when I started working in bars and stuff in Toronto, I was getting my schedule on an Excel document to see like which bar I was working on that night. And we'd get that every single week. And then fast forward to today in my business, I use software to schedule our staff, and all the staff have it right on their phone. So I'm going to share with you all the things that I use to make my life run way smoother compared to, what my parents had to deal with back in the day. So as a disclaimer, I'm just going to say that there's a lot of apps out there. I haven't used them all. I use the ones that I like, and if I like it, I usually stick with it unless it's giving me some kind of grief where I have to shop for something else. So for example, I've used Touch Bistro before and wasn't really a big fan of it, and then I just moved on to other things until I found something that worked for me and what I liked. So again, this is just my own opinion. So if I like it, maybe you like it too. Okay, app number 1. I feel like this is like the most important one, and that is 7 Shifts. 7 Shifts has started off as a scheduling app, from what I can tell, because that's, the main feature it has. But over time, since I've been using it, and I've been using it for 5 years now, it's evolved a little bit. They've added more features to make it kind of a one-stop shop in some regards for staffing and organizing your team. So here are the things I like about it. Number 1, it's an app. So, that's an obvious. Okay, but it's an app. So your staff have it on their phones. Let's be serious. Everyone is always on their phones. You literally have no excuse to not know you're working a shift because those notifications are going to be on. It's going to say when your schedule is posted, so you're going to see your shifts. It also integrates with your personal calendars. So for those people who use their iCalendar or Google Calendar, it just syncs up if you have it set up that way. The other thing I love about it is from a management perspective, you can see when everyone's available. So your staff can submit time off requests. They can submit their availability changes. So if someone's a student and they can only work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesdays, they can book off the other days for every single week that they set in that parameter. For time off requests, the holidays are coming up, people want to go see their family, they can submit those time off requests. The other nice thing is you can actually put blocked days in. So in my business, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve are blocked days. The reason why is because we do our Chinese food pop-up. So it's really busy. We don't really let our staff take that day off. But if they do want to, they have to do a bit more work to actually get that day off. So basically it just requires a conversation. And we still try our best to accommodate and fill in those gaps where possible. We just don't make it as easy as, clicking a button to book that time off. So again, it doesn't require anyone to jump through a lot of hoops when they just have a simple book off, like they have an exam or they need to study for a test. They simply pull out their phone, submit the request off, and then the managers or the owner, they can approve if it's granted or not. And pretty much I've granted, I think 100% of book offs. The next thing I really love about it is that it allows you to forecast your sales and then projected labor. So you can put your labor in, what everyone's making per hour, and then you can do your projected sales. So if you know every Friday you do like $5,000 a night, you can put that in there. And then you can kind of gauge like how much labor you're going to be using based on your schedule. And you always want to try to get as accurate as possible. So schedule accordingly, have people start at the appropriate time, have them finish when it usually dies down. And obviously there's going to be fluctuations because it could be a slower night or a busier night, but it allows you to plan for success versus planning out of fear or uncertainty. And it also allows your managers to make those decisions too. So I don't actually do my schedule. I have my managers do the schedule because they know what parameters and what the numbers are supposed to be. The next thing I love about 7 Shifts is that there's a communication tool, so you can send messages and announcements. Messages are a two-way conversation. You can do one-on-one conversations, or you can have a group chat. And then there's announcements. So those are just one way, basically like me yelling from the rooftop. And then if someone has questions, they can just message me directly. The next thing I love about 7 Shifts is that it has the ability to track clock in and clock out, and people go on breaks and come back from breaks. So I use that when I run payroll. Basically, I pull a report on hours and then it's integrated into my payroll system. And for payroll, it takes me like 10 minutes because all I'm doing is importing the numbers into my other system, just making sure everything looks right, and then done. The bonus aspect that I like about 7 Shifts, and this actually costs money, so I will say this right now, is a subscription-based model, and there's different tiers depending on the size of your organization and what your needs and wants are. So one of the features that I pay for is 7 tasks, and that's task management. So our openers and closers, we have lists for every position. So if you're like a back of house opener, you have a list. When you come in the door that day, you know exactly what you need to do to open within the time frame that you are allotted. Same thing if you were a server that's closing, you have a checklist that you have to do, and then you have to check it off. So we can see when you've checked it off and, out of your checklist, how many things got signed off that night. It just increases the level of accountability. It makes sure things get done, so there's no second guessing. For me, like sometimes I have to go open or close, very rarely, but because I don't do it very often, having that checklist for me is a complete lifesaver, because I am kind of a dum-dum now that I've had kids and my brain is totally all over the place. So if I have to go open the restaurant one day, all I do is just pull out the checklist and I'm just doing one task at a time, just like everyone else. Okay, app number 2. Square. So Square is a pay processing system. A lot of people don't really like it because they take a good chunk of money, but there's pros and cons. So if you're a small business, you can actually reach out to Square and you can submit to Square what you pay in fees with your current processors, and then they can match it or be competitive with whatever you're paying. So that's what I did. And then the other thing is, because my sales have grown over time, they've actually decreased my rates over time. Obviously, I've had to call and get those renegotiated, but it's possible. So I use Square for restaurants. Basically, it's a POS system. We punch in our orders. We get chits for the kitchen so they know what to make. And I'm going to show you guys a little throwback here. This was my family's restaurant menu. And back in the day when we had to submit an order to the kitchen, we literally would use one of these sheets and circle the item number and then how many of that item you want. This is pretty much every Chinese restaurant also. But the most annoying thing was if there was a modification to an item. So for example, let's say someone got sesame chicken and then they wanted the sauce on the side. Well, this menu is packed. There is no space to write anything. Well, too bad. You have to just write it in the little spot that you have right here. And if there's no space, you can go to this space. There's a little bit more real estate here and then draw a line to it. Anyways, it was this whole thing. So basically this piece of paper traveled from front of house to back of house, and then it'd come back to front of house. And by the time it made it to the front, it's just covered in grease. And yeah, that's just how it was. But what I love for Square for Restaurants is it just makes things way more clean and organized. There's more reporting. I can see what we're selling every single day, our top items that we're selling. And again, a lot of POS systems have this feature. So it's whatever really works best for you. For me, I like Square because everything's integrated. So I also use Square Loyalty. So my customers get loyalty points when they spend with us. I also use Square for email marketing. So everything, it all ties in together, and it just makes my life really easy. So from home, I can send out an email marketing campaign. I can choose to only send it to the loyalty members, or I can just send it to everyone. And then the other thing is even gift cards are integrated with the system as well. So to me, even though Square costs a little bit more money, and it's honestly probably, I feel like kind of competitive with some of the top ones out there, you get what you pay for. If you use the features and it's making you money, at the end of the day, that money is spent and there's a return on investment. If you are paying for all these features and you're not using it, then yeah, it's a waste of money. The bonus thing that I like about Square, and I don't think a lot of people know about this, is Square basically is holding your money and then they deposit to your bank account. So for me, I actually let Square hold some of my money into these folders, and it allows me to control my cash flow. So one little mistake that people make is, they have all this money in the bank account, but they don't really actually have that money because it's, going to get spent on certain bills. So for me, I put it into these folders, and then when the time comes for me to use that money, I can take that money out of that folder. And that's worked really well for me. I never have issues paying large bills because I've already set that money aside. The third app I really like is Blink. It is a security system. Basically, it's a little camera, and I put it throughout my restaurant to kind of have a pulse on what's going on in the restaurant. You can set it to record at certain times. So for me, I will record the restaurant when there are supposed to be no people in there, so more so for security measures. So let's say someone broke in at midnight. Well, no one's supposed to be there, so therefore the camera is monitoring the space. So if it detects movement, then it's going to start recording. I'm not one of those owners that micromanages their staff by recording them and watching every single movement. I more so just have the cameras so I can see if the restaurant is busy and if they need my help. If I notice the dining room is packed and people are running around and can't keep up with the orders and there's a lot of people standing around waiting, I will often just zip into the restaurant to give them a hand. The fourth app that I really like is, it's kind of a must-have. It's QuickBooks. So I don't know if a lot of people know this, but QuickBooks, you can have it on your desktop, you can do it online, but it's also an app on your phone, which is all connected. What's really convenient about it is you can take pictures of your receipts. So instead of just having piles of receipts and having to input things manually or whatever, you can just snap photos of it, and pretty much QuickBooks can pretty much summarize what that receipt is. And then my bookkeeper, who is not from the same city as me, they have access to those receipts and they can categorize it. Okay, and the last one, this is not like a restaurant app, but it's Google Drive. So my SOPs are in there, my spreadsheets, pretty much any side document that I have that goes in my business, like keeping manager meeting minutes, they're all in there. I like it because you can share it with your managers. Everyone has their own email account, so you can give people access to that file. And then when they're not with us anymore, fortunately, we have very little management turnover. But you just remove them from the file. Yeah, it's not fancy, but it's an absolute powerhouse. The other nice thing about Google Drive is that you can keep versions of documents. So let's say you've been working on a document for a while and you're like, oh crap, this is way off course. I want to go back to what it was a couple weeks ago. You can just go back into the history and go back to what it was. A lot of software has that nowadays, like Canva, and those are the best things I like about Google Drive. Pretty simple. So I know what you guys are thinking. You're thinking, Susan, I don't want to spend money on apps. It really adds up. I'm not making enough money to spend money on apps. Here's the thing. The cost of doing business is the cost of doing business. We live in a day of technology. Like everything we do is revolved around technology now. If you are not leveraging it, you are really missing out, because it does save you time. It does save you money because it's allowing you to track things that makes you spend more money. For example, even with the scheduling app, I pay like $60 a month. And if you can't afford $60 a month to make your life a little bit easier, to free up more of your time and your manager's time, you really got to think about what those opportunity costs are for you. And the other thing I will say about scheduling apps is it does make your life easier, but it actually makes your employees' life easier as well. If anything, I'd actually almost say it makes your employee's job way easier, more clear, and better overall. So even though it's good for you, it's probably actually better for your staff because they have everything in one place. I know what you're thinking next is you don't have time to learn a new system. Believe me, I get it. Time is very scarce for all of us nowadays, but think of it as an investment. If you invest your time to build these systems, to implement these things, it'll just make your life easier in the long run. And the last one is, you're probably thinking, my staff aren't going to use it. And you are absolutely right. Your staff are probably going to be resistant to change. Most people are resistant to change, and that's okay. But it's really important for you to get on top of it and for you to say, this is what we're doing moving forward. And if your staff can't get on board, it's just going to take time and constant reminders to make a go of it. So for example, clocking in and clocking out. People probably hate it. If you're going from writing like your time in and time out to having to punch it in, again, we're creatures of habit. So if someone doesn't like it, well, you're going to have to just be really clear. Hey guys, I'm doing payroll now and I use this system to see how many hours you worked. So if your hours are not in there and you're not clocking in and out properly, then I can't pay you because these are the hours that I have in your system. This is just like the new policy. This is just a new way we do things starting on this date. And over time, people are going to adopt the new system. I know it'll probably take a month. It'll probably take some reminding and having to go in and fix people's clock in and out. And that's okay. But again, it's going to pay off in the long run. And that's pretty much it for today. If you have apps that you guys like, or if you want me to review other apps, or you think there's some that I should use instead of the ones I have now, I would love to hear it actually, because I am never not shopping around. But if there's something better out there that's going to either save me time and or money, I'm very open to discussion. So until next time, bye guys.